Welcome back to the Maker Show. My name is Jeff Krupke, and on today's show we're going to be continuing our 3D Bob CNC 3NC printer build. We're going to be working on the Y assembly today. Now, for the Y assembly, you're going to need 4 of your wooden parts, and then the extruder that you built in the last segment, 2 of the oiled rods, some screws, some zip ties, a couple bearings, and then the string pulley for one of the sides for the Y-axis to go back and forth. So that's what we're going to go ahead and cover today, and I hope you enjoy the show. Thank you. Okay, the Y subassembly. The parts for the Y subassembly include the left mount, the 2 bearing holders, the extruder assembly we did in the first segment, 1 M3 by 16 machine screw, the right mount, 4 3x20 machine screws, 6 nuts, 1 the Vgroove bearing, the 2 of the LM8UU bearings, 12 of the large zip ties, and the 2 8mm rods, and you can see that pretty clearly. Okay, step 1 here, we're going to go ahead and place the bearing in the rectangle slot on the 2 of the bearing holders. Now these bearing holders are going to be basically on the side vertical on the printer. And on these they have a little nut that's pressed into this gap. In the first picture there's a little, looks like a cross kind of. One of those nuts gets pressed into each one of those. So even before you put this bearing on, you can go ahead and use your pair of pliers to press the nut into that bearing block there. Might make it easier. Then you're just going to go ahead and zip tie. The zip ties, the large end of the zip tie goes to the back, the non-bearing side of that board. And then I would definitely assure it up with some pliers like that. And but please, guys, do not use an X-Acto knife. Use your diagonal cutters to trim those zip ties. You're just asking to cut yourself pretty good, and X-Acto knives are very sharp. So I would definitely use a pair of side cutters on those. So then you cut off the nylon tie. So we're going to go ahead and go on to the next page. Okay, on step number 5, we insert the Vgroove bearing and nut on the M3 by 16 machine screw. So you're going to put the M16 screw through the bearing, and then you're going to back that up with a nut, and then you're going to put the nut on the top side of that plate. And the way you know that's the top side is if you're looking at the top picture there, the slotted holes which you can insert the nuts into are on the right side of that plate. So, and it gives a pretty good picture of where that bearing is. So you're going to want to insert it from that side, the top side. So, and then when you insert the hole, you just back it up with a screw and then tighten it with the pliers and the screwdriver. And it says here that the bearing should rotate freely once installed. If it's not rotating, you probably forgot the nut by the pulley, and that dropped that pulley down, so it's not free anymore. So be sure it's the screw, and then the pulley, and then the nut, and then the board, and then the nut. So that should get you good to go through that step. Okay, in step number 9, we're going to go ahead and press the 2 M3 nuts in the slots of the two bearing holders. Now this is what I was telling you about. They're kind of a cross. They look like a slot with a cross in them, and whenever you see those parts, you can just press a nut in there. That's what I would do, just to get it out of the way. There's a little bit tricky to figure out how to do it the first time, but once you get it lined up, they press right in, so I don't think you're going to have a problem with that. And I would do that on the bearing plates as well as the frame itself, because you'll need to get those done up. Assemble the left and right mounts to the bearing holders. Yeah, this is just simply you're attaching one to the other, making an L out of it. The picture at the bottom is pretty good, and like they say here, orientation is important. It's like critical on this project to get orientations correct. So lay it out and double and triple check it. You see there how that bearing pulley is on the right side. That's where you want it. Get it lined up like that, and the stepper motor mount has to be in line with that, because those two are going to have a string going between them, so those orientations have to be correct. Okay, so on this next page it shows you that Y assembly of the machine. So you want to be sure that the one with the large stepper motor hole is to the left, then the extruder with the wires out to the back. Be sure that the slots are in line, the slots in the extruder are in line with that stepper motor and that pulley. If you don't see two slots on each side and those two holes on top of the extruder, or on the bottom of the picture, basically there's supposed to be two holes, and that's where you insert the other end of the wire ties, and those slip in. So you need two slots and two holes. So just be sure that's all lined up, and you should be good to go. Then you connect it all together with those two oil hardened rods, and then you zip tie them. The zip tie for the Y limit switch is a little bit different. You want to have the fat stopper end down on that one, so it's flat on the top, on the side that the pulley's on. You'll want to install that limit switch on the pulley, the side with the stepper motor on it. It's got the large hole, so it's going to go on that picture. It's going to go on the top, on the side bracket with the stepper motor holes, where the limit switch is going to mount later on. So I ended up having to redo that, so just be sure that you look at that picture carefully when you're before you connect those zip ties to hold those rods in. So so right here on number 14 it says, for the 7 zip ties, wrap the rods by inserting a large nylon ties through the side opposite of the rods into the slotted holes of the left and right mounts. So it shows you there basically what they're talking about. They want the fat end on the top that you can see there, but the one that has the limit switch, you're going to not want the fat end up, because the limit switch is going to be pushed out of a line. So that's where that's a little bit different. So we'll go ahead and go on to the next page now. So as you see on the next side, they leave that last wire tie, the wire tie that needs the the limit switch installed. They leave that. They go the opposite direction of all the other zip ties. You can see in the picture there. What I would do is I would install that zip tie and then just go ahead and install the zip tie for the limit switch. I'd just mount the limit switch right now, right on there. I would not wait. That way you know, you're sure you got it right before you move on. Then it basically says pull the rod snug to the left mount. Use pliers if needed. I'd tighten those with some pliers. I really would. And then snip them off with your diagonal cutters. Don't use your X-Acto knife, please, guys. Use the Parasite cutters. Cut off that excess nylon tie. And it said the extruder should slide freely on the 8mm rods, and I would say just very minimal, fingertip pressure should move that thing. It shouldn't be bound up at all. So that's how we build the Y assembly. We'll go on to, I believe it's the, take a look here. Looks like the X assembly is next. So this one I had a little trouble with getting it in the right place when I did the mainframe installation. I also wanted to do a side note, shout out to Bob, who came up with the printer. He's been reaching out to me and supporting these videos, so we want to support him as much as we can. I just wanted to mention that he said that the ramps board, he would have been glad to replace that. It wasn't a big deal for me. I've repaired electronics all my life, so it wasn't a big deal to solder that up. But if it wasn't working for you, like I had a fan that wasn't working for me, he was glad to replace the little muffin fan that goes around the extruder. So he's a good guy to do business with, and hope to be doing more business with him in the future. This is Jeff with the Maker Show. If you like this, please like and subscribe. I'm also going to post a separate video, I think, of the live assembly of this video. Thanks.